Airplanes aren't just machines in the sky, they're containers of stories, pressure cookers of emotions, places where strangers collide in ways that reveal who they truly are. Some flights take you from one place to another, others change you. And what happened on this flight stayed in the hearts of everyone who witnessed it. The terminal buzzed with afternoon noise. Announcements echoed overhead. Children cried. Phones rang. But in the middle of the rushing crowd stood Tiana Lewis, a young mother holding onto the hands of her 3 daughters, triplets, identical to the last curl of hair, to the last dimple hidden inside their cheeks. The girls clung to her, eyes wide with nervous excitement. This trip meant everything. It was their first time flying, their first time going to visit their grandfather after years apart, and their first time traveling without their father, who passed away just 6 months earlier. Tiana kept her chin high, even though exhaustion tugged at her shoulders like invisible weights. She had promised her girls this trip, she had promised her father they would come, and she had promised herself she would try to be strong again. A flight attendant at the boarding gate scanned her ticket. 3 kids alone, he asked without even looking up. My daughters are right here, she replied calmly. He glanced at them with a dismissive smirk. Triplets cute. The tone behind the word wasn't cute at all. Tiana ignored it. She'd faced worse over the past year, people whispering, people assuming, people judging. She wasn't about to let a stranger break her today. Inside the aircraft, the cabin felt cramped, warm, and full of impatient faces. The girls squeezed into the row of seats, giggling as they pointed at the windows. Mama, look, we're so high already, one of them said, even though the plane hadn't moved an inch. Tiana smiled. She wanted this to be a happy memory. But standing 2 rows away, observing them with a narrowed gaze, was Liam, the lead flight attendant, tall, stiff posture, blonde hair styled so precisely it looked like each strand feared disappointing him. He had the kind of confidence that came from authority and the kind of arrogance that came from never being challenged. His eyes flicked from the girls to Tiana, and something changed in his expression. Judgment, assumption, disapproval, all wrapped neatly behind a smile that wasn't really a smile. As passengers loaded in, Liam walked down the aisle. Ma'am, he said sharply, gesturing toward Tiana's row. Children are expected to remain seated and quiet during boarding. They're not doing anything, Tiana replied softly. They're excited. It's their first flight. He sighed dramatically, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be, one woman behind them whispered. He didn't say that to the other kids. Another nodded. Exactly. What's his problem? Tiana breathed in slowly. Nothing about today would be easy, but she refused to let anger be her first reaction. Girls, she whispered gently, let's stay calm, okay? They nodded quickly, their smiles fading a little. As the plane prepared for takeoff, the triplets sat quietly, nervous but brave, holding hands like tiny mirrors of one another. Tiana kissed the top of each of their heads. She didn't notice Liam staring again, like he was waiting for something to go wrong. 30 minutes after takeoff, the turbulence began. A small bump shook the cabin. Then, another. The girls gasped, gripping their armrests. It's okay, Tiana assured them. It's just the clouds. But the smallest triplet, Ava, whimpered. She had always been the sensitive one. The one who cried when her father used to cough too loudly. The one who slept holding Tiana's shirt even after she turned 6. Tiana reached for her, but Liam suddenly appeared beside them. Ma'am, he said with an impatient sigh, your children are being disruptive. Tiana blinked in confusion. She just got scared from the turbulence. He held up a hand. Other passengers are trying to relax. Across the aisle, a man raised his eyebrows. They're literally just sitting there. Liam glared at him briefly, then turned back to Tiana. This is a distraction. Please control them. Tiana kept her voice steady. I am controlling them. She's just scared. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Well, maybe she's not ready to fly. Tiana's breath caught. Her daughters looked up at her with wide, confused eyes. A mother behind them spoke up. Sir, you're being unreasonable. Liam's jaw tightened. Ma'am, please stay out of this. But the mother didn't. They're just little girls. Liam gave her a hard look and walked away, but not without shooting Tiana one last stare like this wasn't over. An hour passed. The girls ate snacks, coloring in the small books Tiana had packed. They didn't laugh loudly. They didn't kick seats. They were doing their best. But Liam seemed determined to find something wrong. Every time he passed the row, he frowned disapprovingly. as though the air itself was contaminated by their presence. Then, during drink service, the incident happened. The girls each held their plastic cups of orange juice, sipping carefully like they were holding treasure. Tiana reminded them to keep the cups steady, but the plane jolted slightly, and one of the girls' cups tipped, just a few drops landing on her tray. Before Tiana could even react, Liam swooped in. "I knew this would happen," he snapped loudly. The girls froze. Tiana stood slowly, protective instinct rising like a wave inside her. "It was an accident," she said calmly. "And it didn't spill anywhere except—" "That's enough," Liam barked. "I've had complaints." Passengers around them shook their heads. "No, you haven't," a man near the window said. "They've been quiet for the whole flight." Liam ignored him. His voice grew louder. "You are disturbing this flight, all four of you." Tiana felt heat rush to her face. "We're not disturbing anyone. Please lower your voice." He leaned in, too close, too forceful. "You people need to learn how to travel properly." A gasp rippled through the cabin. Tiana's chest tightened. Her daughters shrank back, eyes terrified. Why is he talking like that, Mama?" one whispered. Tiana knelt, hugging them protectively. "It's okay, baby. It's okay," a passenger called out from behind. "You can't talk to them like that." Another added, "Leave them alone." But Liam only escalated. He pulled the tray upward abruptly, startling the girls. "Hey!" Tiana stood instantly. "Don't touch their tray like that. They're children." He stared at her coldly. "You are causing issues. Maybe you and your family don't understand flight etiquette enough." The voice thundered through the cabin. Everyone turned. A captain stood at the front of the airplane, broad-shoulders.com presence, authority radiating effortlessly. Captain Rhodes. He had been monitoring cabin conditions from the cockpit, but the rising voices forced him to intervene. He walked straight down the aisle, eyes locked onto Liam. "What exactly is happening here?" he asked. Liam straightened his uniform. "Sir, this passenger and her children are—" "Stop," the captain said firmly. "I've been listening for the last few minutes. I know exactly what's going on." Liam stiffened. "Sir, you will not speak until I finish." The cabin became silent as stone. The captain turned to Tiana and knelt slightly, lowering himself to be eye level with her daughters. "Girls," he said gently, "are you okay?" They nodded timidly. He smiled softly. "You did nothing wrong." Tiana felt tears sting her eyes. She had held herself together all day, all flight, through all the subtle jabs and sharp words. But kindness, real, quiet kindness, hit her harder than anything else. Captain Rhodes stood and faced Liam. "I've watched you escalate a peaceful situation into an unnecessary confrontation. I've heard your language. I've observed your behavior. And I will not tolerate mistreatment of any passenger on my aircraft." Liam opened his mouth, but the captain raised a hand. "No, you've said enough." Passengers watched with wide eyes, breath held, waiting. "You're relieved of duty," the captain said. "Take a seat. We'll address this when we land." Liam's face drained of color. "Sir, you can't." "I just did." The harsh arrogance that had fueled Liam all flight melted instantly into panic. He looked at the other flight attendants, but none stepped forward. He looked at the passengers, but their eyes told him, clearly, he'd gone too far. He turned toward Tiana, but whatever he meant to say died in his throat. He slumped into an empty seat near the back, silent for the rest of the flight. The tension slowly evaporated. Passengers murmured relief. Some nodded respectfully to Tiana. A few whispered kind words to the girls. But the moment that shattered Tiana came next. Her daughters climbed into her arms, clinging to her tightly. Their tiny hands wrapped around her like they feared losing her. One of them whispered, "Mama, did we do something bad?" Tiana pulled them close, tears spilling silently. "No, baby, not at all. You did everything right," another whispered. "Then why did he talk to us like that?" Tiana stroked their hair. "Because sometimes people judge others without knowing them, but that doesn't mean we let their words define who we are." The captain returned later and spoke softly. "Ma'am, I want you to know this aircraft is a safe place for you and your daughters. If you need anything at all, let me know." Tiana nodded gratefully. For the rest of the flight, the atmosphere shifted. Passengers smiled at the girls. Some offered snacks. One elderly woman even gave them stickers shaped like stars. By the time the plane descended, the girls were calmer. But Tiana felt a fragile ache in her chest, the ache of a mother who had been pushed to her limits but refused to break. When the plane landed, security met them at the gate, not for Tiana but for Liam. He walked out slowly, hands trembling, realizing the consequences of his choices. Passengers didn't cheer. They didn't clap. They simply watched, hoping he learned something important today. As Tiana stepped off the plane, Captain Rhodes approached her. "Ma'am," he said softly, "you handled everything with grace, more than most could." He looked down at the girls. "You're lucky to have a mother this strong." Tiana swallowed. "Thank you," she whispered. I didn't want them to be afraid." "They won't remember his words," the captain said. "They'll remember yours." And as she walked into the airport with her daughter's hands in hers, she realized something she hadn't felt in a long time. Strength, not the loud kind, not the angry kind, but the quiet kind that rises even after the hardest year of your life. Her daughters ran ahead, giggling again, pointing at a Starbucks sign like it was treasure. And for the first time in months, Tiana smiled without forcing it. They were safe. They were seen. They were together. And nothing, no judgment, no arrogance, no stranger with a uniform, could take that away again.